I want to talk today about your dreams. Oh, we need to talk about your dreams because I found this. I remember finding this. What do you call it? Like a children's book, but one that you write in. I found this when going through some of my old things when I was actually like a little kid, not just a teenager. When I don't know, how early are you when you start to write? I was around that age. And I had this little kids book where I filled in like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And back then I wrote, I want to be an opera singer. I want to be a famous singer, you know? And I remember finding that book a few years ago, and it really stuck with me because at some point during my life, I mean, I used to love singing. I did a lot of singing when I was a teenager. You know, I had some solos in high school and that kind of thing. But somewhere along the way, through, I don't know, one rejection, you know, some criticism along the way. But most of all, I think subconscious messages that we often get pummeled with in society. Somewhere along the way, I got the message that my dreams weren't possible. Somewhere along my path, I really got it ingrained into my subconscious that my dreams aren't possible, my dreams aren't profitable, my dreams aren't as valuable as, you know, pursuing, let's say, a more traditional path. And for me, a traditional path was pursuing a 9 to 5. Um, and I remember reading when I wrote this as a kid, I want to be a famous opera singer. And something about reading that, you know, it sparked something in me because it reminded me there was a time in my life where I believed anything was possible. There was a time in my life where I dared to dream. I loved to dream. I had so many dreams, you know, of all these versions of me that I felt and believed were possible to become. And now, you know, as I've been on my spiritual awakening journey for the last, I would say at least 10 years now. At least 10 years now, I've, you know, little by little been on this awakening path. And I've traveled the world. I've traveled to at least 30 countries by now. You know, I've lived in several different countries longer term. I've been traveling with my cat, Freddie Mercury, for the last 5 years. And the more that I've been experiencing different environments, the more I've been really, let's say, reclaiming all these past versions of myself that younger Daniela had forgotten about along the way. And it's really been a beautiful journey of reclaiming all parts of myself. I've really been on this path to wholeness. And travel has been an amazing way to do that because what travel does is it gets me out of my comfort zone. It gets me out of, you know, it gets me away from my family. It gets me away from things that I grew up with. It gets me away from messages I grew up with that actually limited me. It gets me away from limited thinking that told me you can't be this way, but you should be this way. You can't be a singer. There's no money in that. That's a dumb dream. But you can go and work in an office your whole life until retirement. That's the right way to do things. That's the right way to live life. And now, the more that I've come to liberate myself and realize, like, oh, little tiny Daniela who said she wanted to be an opera singer, she didn't say that from nothing. She didn't create that out of thin air. Little Daniela was tapped into all these other versions of herself that actually exist right now as I'm speaking. There are all these other versions of yourself through time and space in the quantum field. Because in the quantum field, there is no time and space as we understand in this linear, structured time-based way in the 3D world. That doesn't exist in the quantum field. The quantum field is there's everything, everywhere, all at once. All versions of you exist simultaneously across time and space. If you haven't seen this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, highly, highly recommend it. That movie blew my mind. And actually, last night, I got this visual metaphor that I really want to share with you guys to explain this a little bit more. Because what little Daniela was tapped into before the world told her, none of that's possible. None of those versions of you are even possible. Why are you even thinking that? You know, forget your dreams. They're pointless. Before little Daniela started getting those messages from society, she was already tuned in intuitively. She could already sense all these limitless possibilities for who the future her could become. And so this metaphor that I got last night, I want you to think about it as, let me see if I can explain it. Let me see if I can explain it clearly. Okay, think about railroad tracks, okay? Think about you're riding a train on a railroad track, okay? Now, multiply that by like infinity. Multiply the trains, the versions of you on those trains, and the amount of tracks. That infinite tracks, and they're all on parallel tracks, right? They're all parallel. And all the trains are going. They're all moving simultaneously. And there's a version of you, let's say there's a clone. There's a clone of you riding every single train. You are steering that train, okay? You're steering that train on limitless train tracks, going to limitless destinations. So if you think about it in this way, in this more tangible way, let's say I'm riding the train on the track that's leading me to, let's say my old life, the office worker. That was, I say that was a former life of mine. Yeah, I was a 9-to-5 office worker and absolutely, completely miserable because my soul was absolutely dying inside because there was a deeper, intuitive part of me who was riding that train, living that life, riding up to that destination, had reached the destination of office worker and absolutely hating it. And when she started to hate it, she started dreaming of what else was possible for her. What other trains could she get on? What other destinations were out there? And as an office worker, I started dreaming about a completely different life. I started visualizing it. I started daydreaming. I started journaling, writing, telling people about it, you know, like, I wonder, you know, what if I went to school in the Middle East and studied religion, you know, studied Judaism, studied Islam, studied Christianity. What if I just got the hell out of here? What if I got out of Washington, D.C., where I was slaving away as a little office drone for several years, because I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. What if I just did something radically different? You know, she started telling herself that. She said, you know what? I think I want to get off this train. I want to get off this train and I want to hop to another one. I want to know what else is possible for me. Now, she didn't just dream this fantasy out of nothing. This idea of studying religion in the Middle East didn't come from nothing. There was already another Daniela riding that train to that destination. Parallel timelines, parallel train tracks, right? Completely parallel. And what she had to do to make that leap, this is what people say when they say timeline jumping, quantum leaping, to jump to another timeline in the quantum field is to jump from one train to another. It's to leap over those train tracks onto a parallel train, heading off to a totally different destination. That's what I did. That's what I've done many times throughout my life, especially through travel. But in order for me, that version of Daniela, office version Daniela, in order for her to hop to another train tracks, another destination, literally another timeline, she had to first believe that was possible, and she did, because a deeper part of her already sensed that somewhere in a parallel dimension, somewhere she already was doing that. How else would she be able to tune into even that possibility if it wasn't already out there? And so in order to find the courage to jump off the office train and jump onto the Middle East train, the religious studies train, that timeline, that destination, she first had to believe it was possible. She did. Then she had to go through the grief, go through the inner friction, go through the anguish of letting go of the version of herself who was riding the office train. She had to stop steering the office train and allow herself to just be a passenger. She had to surrender. She had to take her hands off the wheel of the office train. She had to transform that version of her into a passenger. And once she became a passenger, just observing that timeline, just observing through the window of that train, she was able to let go. She was able to let go because there's no way she could have jumped to the next train, jumped across those tracks, heading off to another destination, my religious studies life timeline. There's no way she could have done that if she was trying to drag that version of her onto the next train. She had to leave that version of her behind. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage. It does require a grieving process. It does require radical honesty with yourself to admit that this train I've been on, this path, this kind of sucks. Like, I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I feel like something's off. And to also admit, no matter what you try on that path, no matter what you eat on that current train, no matter like who's on the train with you, it's still heading to the same place. Nothing you do, as long as you're riding that train will change the destination. And so at a certain point, if you truly want to quantum leap into a different life, into another timeline, into another version of yourself, allow that current version of yourself to become a passenger. Allow yourself to leave them behind on that train so that you can jump forward without dragging them with you. As long as you're dragging that version with you, you'll never be able to make the jump. It's too heavy. It's too heavy. And, not to say the version you're leaving behind is gone forever, because the beautiful thing about our evolution and spiritual awakening and quantum leaping and, shedding all these layers of who we're not so we can really step into who we are. The beautiful journey of this is that all the versions of you are always interconnected. Always interconnected in the quantum field, past you, present you, future you. They're all you. They're all different versions of yourself. It's like, think about all these different trains that you're riding, all these different train tracks out in the quantum field, all these parallel tracks, right? They're all hooked up to the same GPS. They are all hooked up to the same radar tracking system. So you can sense all these other versions of you on every single train going to every single destination. That's why your dreams are not for nothing. Your dreams exist because there is a version of you on those train tracks out in the quantum field, the quantum railroad, let's call it. There's a version of you already on that path, living that life, experiencing that dream in the living metamorphosis of you. That's already happening on one of those trains, on one of those tracks. And your inner GPS, deep down, it knows, it senses these other versions of you who are already living out the dreams that you have in your heart as this current version of you. That's why your dreams are planted in you for a reason. That's why your dreams are so important. And that's why society will do everything it can to try and convince you that your dreams don't matter. Because if every single human being was truly taking actions towards living out their dreams, if every single human being believed they were truly worthy and deserving, and that it's completely possible to bring your dreams to life in this reality, if every single human being on this planet Earth believed that, can you imagine how on fire everybody would be? Can you imagine how alive, how joyful, how free everybody would be in the life they're living? There would be no need to compare to other people's lives, watching them live out their dreams. When you are doing the same thing and you are living in your joy and your bliss and your purpose because you decided to act on your dreams, you decided to commit to becoming the truest you possible, you decided to become who you were born to be by taking action towards your dreams a little bit every day and aligning to that version of you, riding that truest version of you on the most aligned train, on the most aligned train track, heading to the destination that your soul came here to reach. That's my dream for this planet, actually. Well, now I'm emotional. And now I'm tearing up, you know? That's it. So, yeah. I truly believe in you. I truly believe in me. I truly believe in all of us. We are all in this together. So, if this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear what your dreams are. Put it in the comments, and respond to each other. Let's all do what we can to spread love, spread encouragement. Spread encouragement and spread motivation. Let's do what we can to motivate and inspire each other and really be an example of light in this world, because the world needs that more than ever. So, yeah, if you enjoyed this message, I would be so grateful if you could like, share, and comment. It really helps the algorithm. I really love to get my videos, get my messages out into this world to have as much impact as possible. Oh, it's a little chilly out here. And also, if you'd love to follow this journey for more truth transmissions, wisdom weaving, channeled messages, soulful storytelling like this. I would love if you would join my newsletter as well. The link is in the description box. Yeah, follow the journey. Follow the journey. We've got poetry, we've got storytelling, we've got podcast interviews, we've got all kinds of juicy content to help inspire you along your journey of human evolution, a living metamorphosis. So, yeah, keep flowing and growing, my friends. I think you're doing amazing. Be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and sending you lots of love. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.